Now, this episode is a special edition episode that's really an update for the cell cultured meat industry. Upside Foods has received the first green light from FDA for cultivated meat by providing a no questions letter, and we'll kind of get into what that means. But without further ado, David, I'd like to welcome you back to the Cultured Meat and Future Food Show.
Thank you, Alex. I am delighted to be here again.
David, for those who might not be familiar with Upside Foods, maybe listening for the first time, tell us a little bit about what Upside Foods is.
Sure. So Upside Foods is the world's first cultivated meat company. So that is, we are growing delicious meat directly from animal cells without the need to raise and slaughter billions and billions of animals each year. And so we're based in Berkeley, California. We were founded in 2015. Again, at the time, there were no other cultivated meat companies in the world. Today, there's close to 100 across the globe. And we are really laser focused on bringing on a few things. One is bringing our first commercial product to the market, which will be cultivated chicken. But then another is scaling up our production system. And so I'm actually speaking right now in the heart of EPIC, which is our engineering, production, and innovation center in Emeryville, California. And this is really the first and the world's most advanced, I should say, production facility for cultivated meat.
And it definitely looks very cool. And so we've heard about this no questions letter, and the letter is publicly available, and it's not necessarily a letter that says we have no questions. It's a full-on letter describing kind of the process thus far. But maybe could you tell us a little bit about what that means exactly?
Absolutely, yeah. So this is a truly historic moment for the cultivated meat industry. And what this means is that Upside Foods has become the first cultivated meat company in the world to receive this no question letters from FDA. And so what does that mean? That is essentially a regulatory green light from FDA. And what it means is that after an incredibly rigorous review process, they have accepted Upside Foods' safety conclusion, and that as soon as we complete the remaining regulatory steps with USDA, we'll be able to start commercializing our products for consumers in the US. And so it was an incredibly thorough and rigorous process. And Alex, as you said, it's not just a simple no questions letter. FDA goes through in very fine detail in these public documents and explains what data and information they looked at, why they ultimately accepted our safety conclusion. In addition to that, Upside Foods released a 104-page document, which is also available publicly, which describes how we got our safety data, the production process, and really goes into unprecedented detail. So it's a really exciting moment and for the entire industry.
And we know that it's not just FDA that handles approvals and jurisdiction in this area. It goes on to USDA for chicken and other types of reviews. So, what really is the next step in the process?
That's exactly right. So now that we have the no questions letter from FDA, the next step is to work with USDA to obtain a grant of inspection and also to obtain a label approval. And once we have both of those things, we will be able to start commercially producing product and selling it to consumers in the US.
Now, I wanted to kind of ask you a broad question. What does this really mean for not just actually the cultivated meat industry in general, but really the meat industry in general?
It is a huge, huge watershed moment for the industry. I don't think it's possible to overstate how historic this moment is for cultivated meat and for the food system more generally. What it means is that cultivated meat is closer today than it has ever been to dinner plates across the country in the US. And it's a truly watershed moment. It is truly historic, not just for Upside Foods, but for the entire industry. I think one, it is an incredibly legitimizing moment for the industry. When Upside Foods was founded in 2015, again, there were no cultivated meat companies other than Upside Foods at the time, Memphis Meats. And the notion that there would be this regulatory green light just felt like it was so far away. The industry was so young and so nascent. And I think in the subsequent 7 or so years, we have really seen Upside Foods mature and really champion the regulatory system that we have today. And we've also seen the industry really mature and proliferate and really develop an ecosystem that was devoted to producing safe products on a level playing field in a transparent way. And I think today's step is probably the biggest step towards that future than we've seen before.